Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Tuesday the 14th of November 2017, and I'm Darren Sinden. And don't forget you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @ds_Pepperstone. Right, let's take a look at overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. Once again, a fairly quiet session. There was some movement though in some of the commodity currencies. New Zealand dollar here, as we can see, weakening once more against the US currency. Movement here also in the Mexican peso against the US dollar, and in the rand, South African rand that is, against the dollar as well. In terms of chart of the day, we're going to look at the Kiwi or the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. The question here is, has the New Zealand dollar found its feet after the election and the instatement of the centre-left government? Perhaps you could argue that it has. We're still following this downtrend line from mid-September to some extent, but there may be some support emerging just below 69 to the US dollar. That's probably one to keep an eye on over the coming days. Okay, what's on the calendar? Events that may move the market. And after yesterday's completely empty calendar, we do seem to have gone from the sublime to the ridiculous. We've already had retail sales and industrial production data out of China. As you can see, they disappointed to some extent. To come at 7 o'clock GMT, we will have harmonised index of consumer prices, i.e. an inflation measure, HICP, out of Germany, alongside GDP for the third quarter from the country. And then at 8:05, we have the first of an absolute avalanche of central bank speakers. We start with Mr. Evans of the Fed, and then at 9 o'clock we have Mrs. Lautenschlager of the ECB. She speaks then. 9:30, probably the most important data of the day, a raft of UK inflation data, including PPI, CPI measures for October. To come thereafter at 10 o'clock, perhaps the most important speech of the day, Janet Yellen is speaking, and so obviously the markets will be glued to what she's got to say. At 10, at the same time, ZEW economic sentiment data out of Germany. At 10 o'clock as well, the Bank of England, Mark Carney, the governor there, speaking. That's followed immediately by Governor Kuroda of the Bank of Japan speaking. It's hard to judge why they all want to speak at the same time and how we're meant to focus on that, but that's our task today. At 10 o'clock as well, we have GDP data out of the EU for the third quarter. We'll also hear from Mario Draghi. If Carney, Kuroda weren't enough, Mario Draghi joins in. Then there's a pause, a brief respite. We have industrial production data at 10 for the EU. And then in terms of speeches, 13:15, Jimmy Bullard of the Fed is speaking. 13:30, Mr. Crude of the ECB is speaking. And lastly, at 17:30 this afternoon, Andy Cunliffe of the MPC will be speaking as well. So if that's not left you completely breathless, let's take a look at the breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. First of all, Venezuela is declared to be in default by ratings agency S&P after it misses some payments on key government bonds. Brent Crude oil has slipped below $63 per barrel in Asian trade, and that has driven energy equities down as a result. Investment growth in China looks to be cooling as both the state and private sector appear to be cutting back on their investment into the country. And another leading Australian politician, an opposition senator, is set to resign over dual nationality. She will be the 8th person to have to do so in recent months within the country. Food for thought then, something to take away with you into the trading day. Why not think about this? Where does the growth in the Eurozone come from, and how important is Germany's contribution compared to the rest of Europe? Morgan Stanley has been kind enough to take a look at the numbers and put them together in this very interesting little chart, so do take a look at that. Thank you very much for your time today. Please take a moment to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange and margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks or have any other questions, please do contact your Pepperstone account representative.